What is going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to talk to you about Healthier Choices Management, ticker is HCMC. I want to talk about that 4-point plan. Is it actually good for investors, or is it just another over-the-counter possible pump and dump, just a temporary relief kind of fix? I'm going to go over all of that fun jazz. Before I do, making sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe is always greatly appreciated. With that though, let's get right to it. So looking here, as far as volume, things have started to look fairly positive. So that's always a good thing. Looking at the intraday, we are still barcoding between the 0001 and 0002. Unfortunately, it is leaning more towards that 0001, which unfortunately can't get any lower than 0001 unless we do a reverse split. So that's something that you just need to factor in. Market cap is 33.97 million, but as far as volume, like I said, it is relatively high, more than the average, so that's always a good thing. 287 million. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. Keep in mind, I'm not a financial advisor. Do your own due diligence at the end of the day. But in case you do not know about this new plan that they're trying to do, so as you can see, HCMC announced this 4-point plan to increase shareholder value. And so in general, this came out on the 22nd, so we've had a little bit, like I said, to digest this information, and ultimately a lot of people are overlooking this part. So you can see right here, has that 4-point plan listed right here, and they're only doing this as a backup in case the shareholders do not approve a sizable reverse split. So again, their main priority is a reverse split, plain and simple. Even if you do look at the very end of here in the summarization right here, it does say and talk on the reverse stock split, on how that's a little bit more favorable coming from management, which in general, it's obviously that's what over-the-counter stocks typically do. So you can see right here, it does kind of reiterate that about the reverse stock split. So again, that is their top priority, to get assets from that. Of course, they would get a little bit more assets from that, do a little bit more dilution from doing a reverse stock split as well, especially to help their balance sheet. Unfortunately, when it comes down to HCMC and over-the-counter stocks, you just need to realize that despite the massive earnings that they did recently have, they're still losing money every single quarter. So when it comes to it though, you either need to realize that being a long-term investor means being a long-term investor through thick and thin, or you just need to cut your losses. That's what I'm going to try and get to, because like I said, this is HCMC's plan to try and get shareholder value. So they are attempting and proposing to buy back up to $5 million worth of HCMC stock, which again is pretty good. It does work out to be roughly about 27% of HCMC's current capital reserves. So that's a pretty big chunk if you ask me. They're also proposing a spin-off for HCMC under NewCo. In general, I think my initial thought on this was very optimistic, but now that I'm thinking of it, I think they're just trying to start fresh, just scratch the HCMC and start as NewCo. So I don't think that's necessarily the right thing to do, largely because NewCo only does have, based on their website, these 3 attributes. So the Healthier Choices Market, so the grocery chain, vitamin store, and the Healthy Choices Wellness Center, which in general is part of what they want to try and move towards. The HCMC intellectual property, unfortunately, isn't incorporated in that, nor is the lawsuit, in case you did get into the HCMC because of the lawsuit. So it's not incorporating that, the qcup, or also the vape store. So that's something you just need to keep in mind. So if you are a very big fan of HCMC for those attributes, then maybe this whole deal isn't for you. For instance, myself, I'm a very big fan of the qcup. That's what got me in, and obviously I got allured in because of the lawsuit. I fundamentally, deep down, really liked HCMC, but not necessarily because of this. A lot of these attributes and assets that they are trying to move forward with have very low profit margins. So for an over-the-counter stock to go into a game, unfortunately with low profit margins, I think it's a losing game. That's my own 2 cents. Like I said, obviously you don't have to agree with me, but let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. But based on how the price action is acting recently, it's obviously not a lot of investors are really happy about this. Even looking at the recent article that showed right here, short interest grew by 996,000%. That is a very big deal. So clearly shorts are taking advantage of this, largely because of HCMC in this actual 4-point plan did show its dependence on a reverse stock split. So clearly when an over-the-counter stock is trying to do a reverse stock split, unfortunately, it just goes to show that the underlying business is suffering. So over and above that, though, they are proposing also a stock dividend. So whatever your equal percentage weight in HCMC of the outstanding shares is going to be equivalent for that in the NewCo. So that's something you just need to factor in and what it's going to work out to be. Again, it's one of those things that it might be a good getaway from HCMC if that is one of your big things that you want to get out of. And also right here it says an equity capital raise. So plain and simple, you can ignore everything I just said. They're going to be doing a $5 million buyback and also an issuance of $13.5 million. So obviously I don't need to explain to you guys basic math. They are going to be issuing more shares than what they're buying back. So it is completely reverse. And unfortunately, they're going to be giving a lot of those split assets to NewCo. So it still sucks in the end for investors. Unfortunately, like I said, when I was reviewing this at the very first time when I did do a video, I was very optimistic. It was good to see that they're actually trying to bring shareholder value. But if you actually do take the time to read through this with a fine-tooth comb, there's a lot of underlying fear and underlying things in this that clearly show, unfortunately, that things might be going down, which is why we are at 0001, but yet short interest is going up. Like I already mentioned, we can't necessarily go below 0001 unless we do a reverse stock split. But since HCMC has openly announced its dependence on a reverse stock split, that's given shorts a lot of optimism to actually just jump in, knowing that one time or another it is going to do a reverse stock split, and then it's just going to plummet, unfortunately. So that's typically what does happen. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. Not to be any FUD or spread any FUD or anything like that. This is just my interpretation on this 4-point plan. I personally feel, given the circumstances of still a long time ago, because I have been saying for a long time that they needed to do a split of the company. And plain and simple, they needed to do that. But I think they needed to not jump ship so much so that it looks like they're abandoning HCMC and the previous everything that to do with that, so including the lawsuit. So this does make it appear as though it's more of a pump and dump. So I think things are a little bit more backwards on how I was projecting things. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. But I personally still am a fan of the qcup, obviously the intellectual property as well, vape store. All those have huge profit margins. So it's backwards to see them focusing so much on this, but again, it is what it is. This is why we got into HCMC, and over-the-counter stocks can flip on a light switch night and day, so everything can change. And in HCMC's case, it is definitely going to be doing that in the short term. So most likely as well, all this is going to take place in Q4. So with all that, let me know your thoughts on HCMC. Are you fundamentally still committed to HCMC, or now NewCo, whatever you want to call it? Have you been buying, selling? Where are you thinking at with this, or is this still long-term commitment? But still, despite all of that, and like I said, I brought up some negatives and positives out of all of this, the volume is still relatively high. So that's pretty good despite everything. So I think that's a good takeaway from this video, that despite the fear, there still is capital willing to get into HCMC. So I think that's a good thing. So let me know your thoughts on that. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe, is always greatly appreciated. And with that said, I appreciate you guys watching. Let's all make a lot of money on HCMC or NewCo, whatever you want to call it.